Hello, it's Helen from Journal with Purpose and welcome to my latest video. I've had lots of requests for more layouts, doodling and lettering videos, so I'm going to start working my way through some of the books and hopefully putting together some tutorial videos that you'll find fun. I'm going to be using a Rhodia Gold book. Any dotted book will be fine for this, or if you're using plain paper you might find it useful to print out some dotted paper and put that behind your pages. I'm going to use 3 different coloured brush pens. I'm using Zebra mild liners in green, purple and red. Tombow ABTs, any sort of brush pens would be fine. I'm going to be using a pigment liner purely because I know that won't smudge. That's a Staedtler. Possibly a black gel pen, skinny washi tape but not essential. And the layouts that I'm going to do, so from my new book Layout Ideas, I'm going to do this gratitude spread. Gratitude journaling is one of my absolute favourite ways to journal, so I thought this would be a really nice fun one to start with. But I'm going to change the doodles slightly but stick with that layout. In my first book there's lots of different doodles on all kinds of different kind of themes, but I'm going to go with some really simple flowers. So this kind of rose doodle here, I'm going to go with that, but probably just the top part of it. And the reason I'm doing that is because I've had so many comments from people saying that they really wish they were creative, they wish they could add creative elements to their journals, but they can't do it. So I wanted to start with some really simple doodles to get your confidence up a bit. And I'm probably just going to stick with those leaves, so I did put a little marker in some other leaves just in case I wanted to do something a bit different. So I think that's what I'm going to be mainly sticking with. So if you're wanting to add something creative but don't feel that you can, then this is going to be the tutorial for you in terms of adding some really simple decorations. So I'm going to open my journal so that I've got a double page spread available. And the first thing I'm going to do is add my heading, and I'm going to do a bit of faux calligraphy for that. So I'm going to use my pigment liner, but any kind of black pen would be fine for this. Because again, I get asked about lettering all the time, so I have done a brush lettering video, but I will hopefully film another one very soon. So I'm going to start writing out my title of gratitude. So I'm going to add my G there. And I'm going to come back and add the faux calligraphy part in a moment. So it's just lots of kind of straight lines with a kind of kick coming up at the bottom. And faux calligraphy is a great way to start with lettering because it can just get you confident with how you want those letters to look. So I've got the outline there, and then all I'm going to do is each time that my pen was moving down the page, I'm going to add another line next to it. So you can see I've now got that coming up there. Again, this was a downward stroke. And I'm going to do that all the way along each of the letters. And I do have a brush lettering workbook available on my blog if you'd rather go straight into brush lettering. And that goes through kind of the basic shapes and drills and lots of practice sheets in there. So that's on the free printables part of my blog, so you just need to be subscribed to the newsletter and you'll get an email with that contained in it. With the password you need. So now I've got those You could leave it just like that, or you can go and fill them in, which is what I'm going to do. And I'm going to fill them in with the same colour pen, but actually it can look really fun if you decided to add a different colour in there instead. You can see there, so that's why it's called faux calligraphy, because you've not made those thick strokes using a brush pen, you're just adding them manually. So I'm now going to carry on and fill that in for each of the letters. So there you go, you now have your faux or fake calligraphy heading standing out nice and bold. The next thing I'm going to do is add two really simple roses at the bottom corner of underneath the heading here. So all you're going to start with is start moving your pen around, kind of think of a snail shell. So starting in the middle and just bringing your pen around and around in a circular motion. So it's as simple as that. I'm then going to do the same on the other side. And these lines don't have to be even at all, by the way. In fact, I think it adds to their charm a little bit if they're not. So I've got the two flower heads there, and then I'm going to add some leaves coming out from the side of the flower. So I've got a line like that, and then another one. Then I'm going to add a second leaf. Then I'm going to draw a line up the middle of both of those leaves, and then add three little lines on each side for the veins. And I'm going to do the same on this side, coming out over here. So I was really keen to start with some simple doodles, because it is the thing that people say to me so often, is that they really want to add elements but just can't because they're not creative. And I hadn't done anything creative in years until I started journaling, and then this just felt like such a nice easy way to go with some nice simple doodles. And now I want to put a little frame around my quote. So this is where I'm going to use the dots, will be quite handy. So I'm going to start off with a line coming up from here. Then I'm going to turn my journal around and trace those dots all the way along the top. And you could leave it just like that, or if you want to be able to add a bit of colour to it, then you could follow on with another line, which is what I'm going to do. Because then that will give me a little space to be able to add some colour. So for the next step, I'm going to use my brush pens, and I'm going to start off by adding a little purple centre to these flowers. So nice and simple. And I think I might use purple as my colour for this little box as well. So as you can see, really simple to do, but it just stands out beautifully. I'm then going to use this red colour to go around the rest of the flower. And if you want those colours to blend together a little bit, then you could just run a little bit of the red over the purple as well. And creative elements aren't essential at all for journaling, but I find that if I like the look of my page and I find it attractive and peaceful to look at, then I'm far more likely to open up my journal and want to add all of the writing to it. And now I'm just going to finish those off using the green brush pen for the leaves. And then I'm going to start adding on this page my first writing stripes. And for this is where I'm going to use my skinny washi tape. But as I mentioned, this really isn't essential. It's just one of the things I like to do because I like the kind of neat edge it gives to your lines. And this skinny washi tape, the reason I'm using this one is I found that it's quite low tack, so it removes from the page quite easily without any risk of kind of lifting up bits of your paper. But if you've got other washi tape that you're happy to use for this, you could always kind of just blot it on your clothes or something like that, a t-shirt, to get rid of some of the tack. But I wouldn't use your best washi tapes because we are going to be throwing this away, and this skinny washi tape's really cheap to buy, so I tend to use it just for things like this or masking out paintings. So I'm just trying to line that up as best as I can with the dots, but I'm not too worried about it. And what I'm now going to do is use my brush pen to draw a line all the way across. And as you can see, I started off just on top of that washi tape, and I'm going to just run over it on the other end. And then I'm going to alternate this. I'm going to leave an empty line in between and just alternate the pens. I'm going to do this all the way down the page. Some of these lines are going to be wobbly, but I don't think that matters at all. I always think if I wanted something absolutely perfect with straight lines, then I could always buy a pre-printed planner. But I love the kind of quirkiness and imperfections of anything that's made by your own hand. So I'm going to do this now all the way down until I get right to the bottom of the page. Okay, now that's done, I'm going to remove the washi tape. Another tip is if you're finding the tape looks like it's pulling a little bit, if you used a heat tool or hairdryer to heat it up, you'll often find that the tape will pull away a lot more easily. And as you can see, this is what I was going for here, is I really like this crisp edge of where the pens hit the tape. And I'm putting that tape to one side for now because I'm going to use it again on the other page. So really quick and simple, but I find that so much more inviting to write on than I would just a blank page. I also wanted to go for roses because I know some people might be looking to do Valentine's type spreads in their pages, and hopefully you might be able to use these as some inspiration. On the top of this right hand page, I'm going to play around with the layout a little bit, so it's going to be a little bit different from what was in the book, but I'm going to keep the basics the same. So this part was to kind of write at the end of the month the top 3 things that you were most grateful for. I'm going to move those boxes up to the top on this side. So I'm going to try and keep it in line with the box on the other side. I'm going to bring mine 5 along. And then I'm going to try and put my middle box somewhere in the centre here. So I don't think it's going to be exactly the centre, just because of the way the dots are, but that's going to be close enough for me. And I'm going to draw my lines around the outside and again leave room for a little frame so that I can add some colour in there. Gratitude journaling is pretty much one of my favourite ways to journal. Even if I haven't got anything else particularly exciting going on or that I want to write about, I like to make sure that every evening I take a little bit of time to write a line or 2 of the things that I'm grateful for. And sometimes those can be really big things that have happened, but most of the time it's just all of the little things. So yesterday morning it was really frosty and cold, but the sun was gorgeous and it was so lovely seeing it. We did a long walk with our dog Barney and went down to the river, and watching the sunlight reflecting off the water was just beautiful. So that went straight into my gratitude journal last night. So little things like that. And I think one of the absolute pluses as well that it encourages you every day to look out for those little things and really notice them. And I've been keeping a gratitude journal every day now for about 5 or 6 years. And I think it's had such a positive impact on my frame of mind, really, because I know that I'm going to want to fill this out at night. So I'm on the lookout during the day for good things rather than negative things. And I know some days are just tough, but I also think on most days you notice what you're looking for. And if you're looking for the good things to write in your gratitude journal, I think you're far more likely to notice them, and that just can't help but put you in a better mood. So that's my box, my 3 boxes there for my top 3 things throughout the month. And now what I'm going to do is add some of these rose doodles along the bottom here. I absolutely love how quick and satisfying these are to do. I'll certainly do some of the more complex ones, but I think if you're perhaps returning to creativity after a long time away from it, or you're lacking confidence, as I was when I started doing it a few years back now. Starting with something simple is a really good way to get you going. It just gets you back in the process of kind of pen control, adding different elements. It means you can personalise things because you don't need to use the same colours that I'm using at all. You could decide to go for some blue roses, yellow, whatever your favourite colours are, and it helps then to really make your journals your own. I'm just going to add some leaves now coming out in different directions, and the roses are slightly different sizes and they've just got that lovely quirkiness to them. So now I'm just going to add the final leaf on here, and then add the colour in the same way that I did on the first page with those. If you do decide to have a go with something like this and you're on Instagram, please do tag me in. I'm at Journal with Purpose over there. I would love to see how you get on. I'm always on the lookout for when people tag me in, and as much as I can, I try and pop them up in my Instagram stories, share them up there so that other people can see and get inspired by what you're doing as well. One of the things I tend to do once I've got a theme that I like is I'll do quite a few spreads using the same theme. So I might add doodles like this then to my weekly spreads in my bullet journal, or even on my daily journal that I use for documenting things that are going on in my traveller's notebook. I might well add some of them in there as well. And then over time it kind of gives you a little library of things that you feel confident in that you can add to your journal. Okay, and I'm just going to finish the leaves off now. Now I'm going to get those bits of washi tape back again. And again, just stick them down the sides of my page. And when it comes to writing on spreads like this, you could choose to just write on the coloured lines, just write in between them, or write on all of the lines. And that possibly depends on how much space that you want for your gratitude journaling. And there's nothing saying that this has to take a month. You could do this over 2 months, you could do it over a week. You really can just use it as often. I mean, I always try and make sure that I write at least a line in my gratitude journal every evening. And particularly if I've ended the day in a little bit of a grumpier mood, then that's probably the time when I know that I really need to take some time to write something in my gratitude journal and reflect on my day properly and think about the things that did go right, whether it was that first cup of coffee in the morning, a lovely meal, watching somebody's YouTube video that I really enjoyed, perhaps a song came on the radio that I love. It could be a television program that's made me laugh, having a good book ready for me when I go up to bed. So I just try and think about all of those little things. And it helps, I think, then to kind of put everything else into perspective a little bit. Okay, I'm now coming to the end of this. And again, I'm just going to really carefully peel that tape away. I really hope you've enjoyed this. If you'd like more of this kind of tutorial, then just let me know. If you've got either of the books and there's particular doodles you want me to do or layouts, again, please do just let me know. Well, thank you ever so much for watching, and as always, a massive thank you to everybody who's joined me over on Patreon. I hope you're doing really well, and I look forward to speaking with you really soon in my next video.